Thank you for coming by. This is an American project. Please be sure to like and subscribe. We need your help to get to 1,000 subscribers. We really appreciate it. Let's get started. Republicans on January 28th unveiled 2 articles of impeachment against Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas, citing him for refusing to enforce multiple immigration laws and creating programs that specifically defy congressional intent. And it's all related to the crisis on the U.S. border with Mexico. The first article charges Mr. Mayorkas with willful and systemic refusal to comply with the law, while the second article accuses him of breach of public trust. Throughout his tenure as Secretary of Homeland Security, he has repeatedly violated laws enacted by Congress regarding immigration and border security. In large part because of his unlawful conduct, millions of aliens have illegally entered the United States on an annual basis, with many unlawfully remaining in the United States. His refusal to obey the law is not only an offense against the separation of powers in the Constitution of the United States, it also threatens our national security and has had a dire impact on communities across the country. In the second impeachment article, Mr. Mayorkas is accused of willfully violating the public trust by having knowingly made false statements and knowingly obstructed lawful oversight of the Department of Homeland Security, principally to obfuscate the results of his willful and systemic refusal to comply with the law. He has engaged in this scheme or course of conduct through the following means: knowingly made false statements to Congress that the border is secure, that the border is no less secure than it was previously, that the border is closed, and that DHS has operational control of the border. These articles lay out a clear, compelling, and irrefutable case for Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas' impeachment, Mr. Green, who leads the Homeland Security Committee, said in a statement. He has willfully and systemically refused to comply with immigration laws enacted by Congress. He has breached the public trust by knowingly making false statements to Congress and the American people and obstructing congressional oversight of his department. These facts are beyond dispute, and the results of his lawless behavior have been disastrous for our country. Empowered and enriched cartels, mass fentanyl poisonings, surges of terror watch list suspects, more criminal illegal aliens causing harm in our communities, and traumatized and exploited migrants will be Secretary Mayorkas' open borders legacy. Speaker Mike Johnson told Republican colleagues in a January 26 Dear Colleague letter that he expects the full House to debate and vote on the articles as soon as this week. The facts show that President Biden and his Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas have willfully ignored and actively undermined our nation's immigration laws. My office has documented at least 64 specific actions taken by his administration that effectively opened our border and instituted the current chaos. Rather than accept accountability, President Biden is now trying to blame Congress for what he himself intentionally created. When we return next week, by necessity, the Homeland Security Committee will move forward with articles of impeachment against Secretary Mayorkas. A vote on the floor will be held as soon as possible thereafter. Representative Benny Thompson, a Mississippi Democrat, issued a response. What is glaringly missing from these articles is any real charge or even a shred of evidence of high crimes or misdemeanors, the constitutional standard for impeachment. That should come as no surprise because Republicans' so-called investigation of Secretary Mayorkas has been a remarkably fact-free affair. They are abusing Congress's impeachment power to appease their MAGA members, score political points, and deflect Americans' attention from their do-nothing Congress. Republicans don't actually want to work toward bipartisan solutions to fix the border. In fact, they have repeatedly sabotaged the Secretary's efforts to secure the border and denied DHS's funding request. Secretary Mayorkas is upholding the law and honoring the public trust as he has throughout his more than 30 years of service to our nation. The House must reject this sham resolution. Mr. Thompson made public his January 26 letter to Mr. Green, making the case against the impeachment, claiming that the full House is required to authorize such a process and that Mr. Mayorkas wasn't given an opportunity to testify in his own defense. Quote, until this Congress, Republicans have railed against pursuing impeachment without formal authorization by the full House. The last time a cabinet official was impeached, the 1876 case of Secretary of War William W. Belknap. The full House authorized several committees to investigate well-publicized cases of fraud in the federal government, Mr. Thompson wrote. In this case, however, the full House was not permitted to debate on the merits or lack thereof of impeaching Secretary Mayorkas or consider the proper procedures for any such investigation. Secretary Mayorkas was not afforded any rights in the absence of an authorized impeachment inquiry. Authorizing resolutions not only imbue investigative committees with additional authority and legitimacy, but they also afford subjects of such investigations the ability to respond to the investigation. The Mississippi Democrat further noted, Secretary Mayorkas has testified at congressional hearings 27 times during his tenure, more than any other cabinet secretary. The secretary said he would make himself available to testify before the House Homeland Security Committee, but you refused to accommodate his request and find a mutually agreeable date. In a lengthy statement, the DHS contended that contrary to the allegations detailed in the impeachment articles, this administration has removed or returned more non-citizens than any previous administration. The majority of all southwest border migrant encounters throughout this administration have been removed, returned, or expelled. Total removals and returns since mid-May exceed removals and returns in every full fiscal year since 2015. Democrats also claim that DHS has seized more fentanyl and arrested more individuals for fentanyl-related crimes in the last 2 years than in the previous 5 years combined, which really doesn't mean anything if you have a whole lot more people coming through with that stuff. Representative Mark Green says these facts are beyond dispute and the results of his lawless behavior have been disastrous for our country. There are an enormous amount of people crossing the border and have already crossed, millions in fact, since Biden came to office. So they're just twisting words around and trying to sidestep the problem. But hopefully they'll be able to get something worked out in moving forward. Thank you for coming by. We really appreciate it. Be sure to like and subscribe and have a great day. God bless.